What's up, everybody? Bitcoin, crypto, JP Morgan pumping RWAs. We're not live streaming on X for some reason, but I will get this sorted here momentarily. Let me go ahead and copy this, paste this over, do a tweet about it. I don't know why this is not streaming, but we're going to be in. We got some key charts that we want to look at. Pay attention to what's going on. Let me get this post out. Bitcoin. Here we go. Live stream didn't connect. Watch today's stream here. There we go. All right, here we go. Sorry, this was just a little bit of a hiccup. There we go. We're good to go. Let me go ahead and switch this over. Let's get into it. Let's talk about these markets. Let's talk about everything going on because there is major news taking place right now in the crypto market, and we need to make sure that we got you want to be in the right place for what's happening right now. So everybody, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about what's going on right now. Let's go. JP Morgan pumping crypto. Which cryptos? We're going to be talking about that and some major developments of what we're seeing on the geopolitical stage and what this might mean for the crypto market because Bitcoin is sitting right on the edge of absolute slingshot liftoff, but does not mean that we can't have a little bit of a move to the downside before this market absolutely rips to the upside. So let's make sure that we are tuned in, locked in with what our strategy is. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in here on YouTube, everybody that's tuned in over on Rumble. And for those of you that are watching from X, I'm not sure why this is not multi-streaming to X, but I did just share a link on my page so everybody can see that. Let me make sure this is retweeted over on @Academy BitLab as well. Let me get that right here and we will get into it. But guys, let me know, have you guys been stacking? Have you guys been stacking into ONDO and Link? Are you stacking into other plays as well? Let me know what coins you're most interested in right here in the live chat, whether you're watching on YouTube or on X, on Rumble. Let's get active here. I just want to make sure that this is, there's always hiccups with this tech stuff. So I had to do it another way today. God dang it. Retweet. Boom. There we go. Awesome. Now let's get into it because we got some major things that we want to look at. First things first, when we're talking about Bitcoin and people are so worried about a potential dip that comes into play, if we get that before we just complete liftoff from here, looking at the charts, we're seeing this right here. We had this major test that came down where previous range high. What are we seeing right now? Absolute beautiful bullish structure on its way to the upside here with little stair step patterns on the way up. If this were to pull back, this is not a crash. If we see a little bit of a drop down into the zone, which we had already drawn out, happened a little bit more quickly than we had assumed it would happen, are we due for another move to the downside? As it stands right now, we're not seeing a huge amount of outflow on the money flow as it currently stands. However, we're also not seeing a huge amount of conviction in the immediate term. What we're seeing in the layout of the Bitcoin crypto altcoin market space is a never-ending flood of bullish news, which is what is it saying? It's influencing, it's implying incredible bullishness. What we're seeing right now is a never-ending flood of bullish news that's implying such an incredible bullish continuation ahead. Does that mean we need to forget our risk management? No, in fact, we need to focus on that more than ever because this market is about to run away from us. So everybody, how you doing? We got 315 people just rolled in the room. The market is set up for some absolute incredible things. New show flow today here in the BitLab Academy, and we're going to be doing this moving forward as Discover Crypto wraps up. For some of you that don't know, Discover Crypto goes before us. We're all in the same family here at Hit Network. I start right as they're ending, and then Blockchain Basement goes right after me. but you just heard a large amount of news. I'm going to do very minimal news at the beginning of the show. I'm going to focus more heavily on technical analysis, looking at the charts, breaking things down. And the second half of the show, we will highlight some things because maybe they didn't hit some of the things I want to hit. Maybe I have some different takes on some stuff. That'll be the second half of the show. So everybody, as you roll in, I want to do it right now. Let me know you're live. Get active in the live chat. What city and state or what city and country are you tuned in from? Where are you at? And also, what was your last buy? What coin? And what was your last sell? What coin? Let me know in the live chat. If you're watching later, drop it in the comments down below. Shout out to everybody that's over there on Rumble that is tuned in. Make sure if you are watching, you hit that follow button, hit that like button. If you're watching over here on YouTube, again, hit that follow button and like button right down below. Boom. Here, I got to hit the like button. Make sure it says subscribed. Now let's get into it because we're seeing some movement on these charts. We're seeing some, look at this, pie down, but it also was just up massively. This is on the hourly. Let's look at something a little bit more valuable. On the weekly, we are seeing a lot of green, a lot of green. Now, while this is great, you need to recognize when you see so much green, at some point you are very likely to have a pullback on some, if not all, of these assets. In fact, I think in the near future, if it's not this week or next week, maybe the end of the month, we want to identify the pullback zones that we can get into assets that we feel like are very strong and have a very positive bullish narrative looking into the next weeks or the next months. So all of this green is great. You need to be very aware that red will be coming because it goes from green to red and red to green, right? This is great. Let's be aware that we may be getting some opportunities soon. On the daily, we're seeing a kind of mixed bag here. Why is this? We just saw a pretty large run up on a lot of coins. This is exactly what I was just talking about. So on the weekly, this may stay dominantly red. On the daily, as we're looking ahead, we're going to go see this oscillation back and forth of large pumps into a little bit, some small pullbacks that give us opportunities here. I see black ice. We got Eugene, Oregon, Florence, South Carolina, Will Carter, Colorado, K-Jam. Las Vegas, Mary Herbert, we will be out there in Las Vegas here in only a couple weeks. Eugene, Oregon, also pre-rich. Shout out to those of you getting active in the live chat. Big love to you. But let's continue back over to what we're talking about because Bitcoin, this looks beautiful. We have not yet eclipsed this previous range high. That's a wick. These candle bodies are roughly right about where we've currently rejected. Now, while this is very bullish, we have to be aware that there's a very regular possibility that this could have that big pullback or at least some pullback right in here, whether it's to $100,000, which would be the first time if we bounce here above 100K, this would be the first time Bitcoin breaks through 100K and finds 100K Bitcoin as support, potentially moving much higher. If we do get the larger dip, we've got some key areas that we're watching, namely this trend line that goes back to August of last year. So if we do get the larger pullback, we're going to be watching that zone critically, which is why we have it highlighted right here in the basically the $95,000 to $97,000 region, which would still be ultimately very bullish because this would still maintain a higher low structure. When we look at the broader market and we realize that the Bitcoin dominance, because we're all talking about wondering for the altcoins, this key zone, which we have outlined in red, we've entered it. This outline, this previous resistance, which is now being potentially used as support, also comes into where this line intersects, this rising level, this sloped level of support that's pushed up. It's also been resistance. It's also been resistance. It's also been support. This intersecting zone right here is very critical because if this area breaks, especially if we come down here, bounce on the 60, but reject and actually lose this 60 percentile level on the Bitcoin dominance, this will ultimately be the alt season that everybody is wanting. Like we saw back here, 2017, this was absolute pump rippage to the upside in altcoins. Similarly, right here in 2021, absolute pump rippage in the altcoins. Where we're at right now, it feels a little different, but we also have a lot of room to the downside if this area breaks. However, we've seen this area maintain support all the way from back here in January of 2024. This is when, just after the Bitcoin spot ETFs entered the picture. This is when liquidity interest became a lot more focused on Bitcoin and not so much as a whole on altcoins. And it's a question moving forward. As all these new capital channels move forward, are we going to see Bitcoin dominance continue to just stair step its way to the upside and not give us an alt season? That is a very realistic case that could be made. However, I do think that we are going to be still seeing major upside for particular alts, especially certain sectors, especially coins that are doing infrastructure as the world now moves to integrate into the blockchain ecosystem. Things like layer one projects, Ethereum, Avalanche, Cardano, Injective marries that sort of that world of layer one as well as decentralized infrastructure, as well as AI. And I think AI is going to be major narratives as well, but I think it's going to be particular coins that are going to be running away here. Are we going to get a broad altcoin focus? Everything runs and pumps to the upside? Maybe, but I think we still, even if that were to happen, we still need to be very hyper focused on where you're putting your interest and where you're parking your capital, whether it's very diversified or you're selecting a smaller diversification like Bitcoin, ETH, Chainlink, or Bitcoin, ONDO, or Bitcoin, BitTensor, Tau. We're talking about that a lot in the Discord. The new Discover Investors group, which is that link is pinned to the top of the live chat there. If you look at the live chat, just to remind you, it's right here. Join the DIG Discord. This is the joint Discord that we have with Discover Crypto, BitLab Academy, Blockchain Basement. We're all moved together as one area. By the way, hint, 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 if you are a BitLab Academy member in the current Discord, get over here, sign up for the for the DIG, Discover Investors Group, or send an email. We're going to basically be giving a grandfathered price if you are a member over on BitLab, and it's going to be a limited time. So I will give you more info on that as this week wraps out. So hold on that for the moment, but we're going to give you the ability to basically move your membership over and have a discounted rate at the price you were paying at the BitLab Academy, and you're going to get so much more. So I'll talk to you about that a bit more in a second, but we have a couple things to cover. Then we're going to look at Bitcoin. We're going to look at ONDO. We're going to look at Chainlink. We got to look at XRP because it still seems to be fighting to be in this RWA narrative, and it is. But is it going to be the major player that everybody's hoping it's going to be, or are other things starting to eclipse it? We got to talk about that. We got to talk about some other key altcoins as well. So what is it? First off, Jim Cramer did his best to call the absolute bottom. What a legend he is. But did he call the bottom, or did he indicate the bottom based on the inverse Cramer metric? Meaning, what he says, basically the opposite happens. There's never going to be an American Pope. Hours later, American Pope announced Bitcoin's not going to hit 100K. We've hit 100K. Now he said Bitcoin's not, you're foolish to think Bitcoin's going to hit 200. Basically, 200K Bitcoin is confirmed based on this. This is also right here. This is the area that he was calling for Black Monday, and the market was going to absolutely melt down from here. What did we see? Marked the absolute bottom. Incredible movement to the upside. In fact, the stock market is positive for the year now, which I guess all those arguments about Trump destroying the economy, people just don't understand how economies work. In fact, we also saw that inflation just hit a 4-year low. The lowest inflation's been since Biden took office. Basically, Biden took office, the inflation ran away. Trump's back in office for about 115 days, 120 days, and now we're back basically reversing a lot of those things. So whether you like them or not, you can't argue with the data. Now, looking a little bit deeper, I really do. I think we'll see Link flip everything but Bitcoin, meaning the market cap of Link surpassing what we're seeing in Ethereum, surpassing what we're seeing in XRP. Now, whether or not this absolutely happens, we'll have to see. I think regardless where Chainlink is on the coin market cap rankings I think it's a crime with how low it is right now. Currently, it's still high, but it's at number 12. I think we will see this firmly up here in the, top 5 minimum, if not potentially flipping ETH. Now, why do I say that? Because Chainlink has all the things necessary. Nothing else comes close. Chainlink is the infrastructure layer of the blockchain and crypto ecosystem that also, this is what's important, it also bridges Web 2, traditional finance, legacy systems into the blockchain realm. In fact, beyond that, we have some major news, which I know you know about if you're paying at all attention to the crypto ecosystem, but we're going to be covering that in a moment. I want to get through a couple things here, then we're going to look at some TA here in about 3 to 5 minutes, a bunch of TA, then we're going to get back over to the news. But by the way, if you're tuned in right now, welcome to the BitLab family. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. My name's Kelly Kellum. I'm here to bring you unbiased takes on what's going on in the market, looking at data, a variety of different data points so that we can make sure that we're basing our actions in this market on data, not succumbing to the emotionality of movements in the market, which will only lend to you handing your crypto over to somebody else that has a better strategy. So let's look at this data. Shout out to our channel partners, Bitcoin IRA, which I'll be having on the show tomorrow. We also got LBank and Arculus, getarculus.com. Use code BitLab20. Protect your crypto. Protect your future. It's the best crypto cold storage solution out there. And of course, LBank, our trusted partner. That link is in the description just below the video. If you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble, it's right here. It's one of the first links. Trade crypto with us on LBank. That gives you access to a bunch of the trading content and free zone where Drew and I are basically almost every morning now going to be in there talking about the markets, breaking things down. You get free access to that. All you have to do is sign up right here with LBank, but it doesn't let me. Yes, it does. If you say it doesn't let you, you're telling me that you're not practicing good security. You should always have a VPN on, should always set it somewhere like Brazil or Croatia or Luxembourg or something like that. Protect yourself in addition to getting crypto cold storage. But that's how you do that. You don't need a KYC or any of that. Right here, this is the link that you use. Join us over in LBank, and then you can go and use that link in Discord and get free access to a section of it. There's a whole paid section that has a whole lot more stuff, but there's going to be a lot of stuff in there. But then we look at Coinbase joining S&P 500. But why is Ben Grossman from ONDO mentioning this? Because this is such a larger impact than you all realize. The next step isn't just that the S&P 500 has Coinbase, which is a crypto exchange there on the S&P 500. But I do think that the next step will likely be getting a good portion, if not all, of the S&P 500 on chain. Ben Grossman is part of the ONDO team. This is going to be a major, major development if we start seeing a huge swath of different tokenized treasuries, which we already have, but also stock indexes, as well as some of the top securities, commodities traded on chain. This would be a multi-quadrillion dollars in volume expanse integration onto the blockchain. So continuing on, what do we got? Nearly 50% of fund managers say that gold is overvalued. I think gold is a great investment, but this was a massive swing in the gold valuation right here. And so I do believe that you need to realize that when you see these massive swings to the upside, we might start seeing some rotation out of gold, especially with the fear that was in the market. A lot of people were flying to safety in gold. Well, Bitcoin's also on the world stage now as an alternative to gold, and it also has essentially a no cap, infinite price valuation of where Bitcoin can go. And the fact that adoption's on the rise at an exponential level right now with institutions and individuals, I think that you need to pay attention that this is great. It's great that gold rose, but I do think we're going to start seeing a rotation either out of gold or new capital not going into gold, going into some of the risk plays. And remember, Bitcoin is not a risk play, but it still trades a little bit like one. So we need to pay attention to that. And remember, the big money, wallets over 10,000, we see right here, they are still more on the accumulation side. Also, the large wallets, basically from 100 all the way up to 10,000 on basically this zone right here of color. This zone suggests that the larger wallets are still stacking while retail is asleep at the wheel. Don't be asleep at the wheel. If the big money players are buying, it's indicating we are setting up a new base for much higher price action. Does that mean we can't have a little dip from here? No, in fact, I welcome it if we do. But on the midterm to macro outlook for Bitcoin, this is suggesting we have got a lot higher to go. So what are you doing about it? I want you to know. Comment down below. If you're watching this on this live, if you're watching on the short clip of this, comment. Are you stacking right now? Are you worried? Are you selling? Are you not even in? because this is telling me, guys, it's time to buckle up because we are about to go to moonshot. Now, of course, what do we also see? We see the Bitcoin's realized price is steadily increasing, mirroring behaviors seen in past bull markets. Now, what did I say? Craziest thing about this metric is that in order for Bitcoin's realized price to go up, someone or many people have had to sell. It's older coins that have had to sell, and their new average price, it changes the average price of every token that is in supply the last time it moved. So who the hell is selling? We got to pay attention to this because we're kind of at this phase in the market right here, but we're at a better phase in the market, which I'm going to show you right here. Check out where we're at in the Bitcoin market right now. How high is price action going to go? Are we going to continue to the upside? Looking at this chart right now, the money flow tells the story. The capital flow tells the story. We are right here. We just had massive sort of reduction in inflows of capital into the market. But look at this. We bottomed and we're starting to tick up. Look at this double top right here in the capital flow. We're seeing how this relates to price action. Well, let's look in the previous cycle. Boom. We had almost a triple top here with this weird, anomalous, huge black swan COVID crisis. But let's look at these two. Boom, up, back to zero. Boom, up, back to zero. Launch. What we see back here? Two peaks, back to zero each time. And then this is when things truly got exciting. We're right here in the cycle before this parabolic uptrend. Okay, let's see what it looked like right here. We're right here in the cycle before this parabolic uptrend. This is not the time to be worried about Bitcoin unless your worry is you don't have enough. That is what you need to mark in your brain right now in what your strategy is in this market. And this will also further signal what's going to come in terms of capital flow into the altcoin market. When this truly starts to take off, I think we're also going to start to see the confidence come back to risk investors, both venture capitalists, sovereign wealth funds, corporate players, big money, smart money, dumb money. We're about to start to see a huge amount of money flow in the crypto ecosystem, and the altcoin market is going to benefit from that as well. Is it going to be the same as last cycles? I don't think it will, but that does not mean we're not going to see massive upside still to come in this market. So shout out to each and every one of you. I see you, Mary Herbert and Dylan K and Granny's Garden, One House Productions, Objectively Real, Reality Objectively. Don't sleep. All-time high is going to be coming soon. Green Day Profits, how you all doing? We got a bunch of TA we want to do right now because when we look at the liquidation heat map, the liquidity is below us, but it's not super hot like it was before. In fact, this is looking really freaking healthy. This is looking great. We don't even have many heat marks above us, meaning liquidity areas where people will be liquidated if the price pushes up into. But this is a 1 month. Let's go down to the 3-day. Let's see a little bit more clarity. Looks like we're kind of trapped in decision-making time going into the middle of this month and going into the end of this month. We have the Bitcoin conference, and only about, next weekend I'll be going to Vegas. And then not this one coming up in 2 days, but I'm talking about the 21st, 22nd, 24th. I think we fly out there. We'll be there all week. Is the Bitcoin price going to be above $110,000 during the Bitcoin conference? You let me know in the comments. Do you think we'll be above $110,000 during the Bitcoin conference, even if it just blips above there? Or do you think we'll already be running away? I think we have a very strong possibility of that happening, especially with everything bubbling up. And in fact, we just got breaking news a few minutes before we went live that the Japan and South Korean trade deals are kind of bubbling to the surface, that they might be being announced here in the near future. In fact, I think it's going to be just like anything. You have the one domino that falls and it's just tick, 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 tick. The acceleration of these trade deals, I think, is going to come in very quickly, because the faster a nation comes to a trade deal with the U.S., the better situation they're going to be in. Just like anything, negotiating 101. So how quick can you move? I think we're going to start to see a massive acceleration, which is only going to buoy the market. Not only buoy it, it's going to light the market on fire. So we go back over here and we realize that Jim Cramer, who I did already close it. Yeah, Jim Cramer calling right here that we're going to have another major dip to the downside. just launching the market. And now the price is back up above, a lot of the market's back up above the 200-day moving average. The excitement about inflation falling, the bond market's still a little bit questionable. Why is that still rising? There seems to be an economic and political battle about markets, but the markets are ready to melt to the upside. I would caution you not just to go all in on huge leverage, because I do think the market's going to shake about, but I think we are set for a major boom to the upside. Coming back to the S&P 500, note a pretty big gap that we have here. You don't see it because I'm on the wrong chart. So on the daily chart, look at this gap we have right here. Now, this is important because as exciting as this is, and this may impact Bitcoin and the altcoins as well, we're talking about as exciting as the market looks like it wants to run to the upside, it doesn't mean it doesn't need to reach down and tie its freaking laces before it runs. So when I see this right here, it doesn't change my bullish stance. It just says, hey, make sure you check your laces before you go sprinting. And that's what we're seeing right here. If this were to have a little bit of a move to the downside, clear this gap, like inevitably does happen almost more often than you can even realize, these gaps. That gap filled. This gap filled here took some time. But if we do get this small little fill here before the launch, that would ultimately be the most bullish scenario. Now, coming over to the markets in general, we talked about the Bitcoin dominance, what it means if this does break down, not only below this region, this intersection right here, which we're sitting on the cusp of, but it's really pay attention to a breakdown of this level, a retest, a break of this level right here, the 60% mode zone, retest there, and then a continuation. This will be when alts really heat up if this happens. Now, we are set up to maybe have that happen, but this has been a persistent uptrend for Bitcoin dominance for quite some time, all the way back here for 3 years, nearly 3 years. This has been an uptrend. However, this is rounding over and capital's hungry for some major gains. The degen factor is bubbling into the market right now, and I do think that we will see this happen, whether it's here in this month or into the coming months, sometime between now and September. I do think we're going to see a pretty large move to the downside on dominance, which would mean overwhelming boom season for those alts that you're holding. Now, coming down, I do want to highlight this. Where is it at? We do have, let's look at XRP. Let's look at ONDO and Chainlink, because they had some major news today with JP Morgan, which we'll cover here in a little bit. But I want to look at TA first, and that is Chainlink right here. Chainlink has been in a major sideways consolidation, symmetrical triangle, however you want to call it. This looks very sideways. When you measure this all the way back to 2020, yes, 2020, up here where this topped out here in 2021, these two zones have created a very large symmetrical triangle. In fact, you can measure it just from here if you want, but the point is this is coming into the apex. This is right on the cusp. Chainlink is right on the cusp of trying to break out. But notice we have this multi-year downtrend line, as well as this level, this horizontal level that's right in here, that it has sliced through, but it's sitting right on the cusp of really having the confidence to break out. On the 4-hour chart, we can see this more clearly. In fact, not only has it broken out, it tried to have a deviation down below, but along with all of this, we see the RSI trending to the downside while the price action was trending to the upside. Okay, we're getting a little move to the downside. So we had the bearish divergence right here. See the RSI, the strength was declining while price was appreciating, like the tops here getting higher and higher. This is much higher high, not so much higher high. And it's basically just the momentum is flattening. We got the deviation down. We're back in the zone. So you can call this a bull flag with not a lot of confidence. There's a bull flag here, but there's no increase in money flow. Money flow, as you can see down here on the bottom, where is my line? Right here. Money flow is right at the middle juncture here. If this were to break to the downside, it wouldn't shock me, but I'd be watching for a move roughly about right here. Why? Because we have these tops, we have this top, we have these tops. This is a zone I'd really be scooping up a lot if it flushed down to 1539. I think that would be a steal for what's coming to Chainlink, especially with the news, which we'll cover here in a little bit. If this does break out from this bull flag, and this was just a small deviation, bear trap back into the zone, then we're looking at a move Again, see how this sliced through this orange bar? Same thing. We have a horizontal trend price region that we've outlined from back here. In fact, you can draw this further out. Look at this. So, I mean, you can kind of, yeah. So bounce, bounce, rejection. Okay. We got the chop right through here, but the target from this bull flag comes all the way up into here. In fact, let's actually look a little bit deeper. We have a beautiful inverse head and shoulders here. Chain link, go down from the neckline, much like this, take this out, and you realize the target out of the inverse head and shoulders is the same as this bull flag target right here. So feels like the data is suggesting Chainlink is trying to set up the move to break back above $20. Have you been stacking? Were you scared when it came down here into $10? It's okay to be scared, but ask what your strategy is, and then also acknowledge your feelings and realize that your feelings are a signal that what a lot of people are also feeling, but they don't have the strategy like you do because you're watching BitLab Academy. You're watching Discover Crypto. You're watching Blockchain Basement. You're watching Frankie Candles. You're watching Jason Casper. You're watching the people that are giving you unbiased looks at the data so that you can make smart moves. So we're seeing several indications this wants to make the move, but don't get trapped in the absolute there. This may still make this move up here above $20, but you may get a washout down before that happens. Essentially, basically a bear trap down before you get that slingshot to the upside. We've seen a lot of the fake outs in the market over the last many months over this last year. Now let's look at ONDO, because ONDO had a pretty nice little move to the upside when that news popped. This right here, this move right here was not a small move. That's a 13% move pop on the news. Now, what news am I talking about? JP Morgan settles its first transaction on a public blockchain. Why the hell does that matter? First off, remember that JP Morgan was building their own blockchain. But now, TradFi, this is a major signal for TradFi. TradFi is coming, and they've chosen ONDO. Excited to finally share our work at Connexus with JP Morgan and Chainlink, as well as ONDO. Chainlink and ONDO are two of my largest holdings in my portfolio. And now we have the likes of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, MasterCard, McKinsey, and the list just gets longer and longer of people that are institutions that are very actively getting involved with Chainlink and ONDO, blockchain, the rails of the future, the biggest players in legacy finance, shining a bright ass light. And you wonder, is ONDO a good buy? Is Chainlink a good buy? Guys, I think the bullishness that's in store for those that have been stacking on the data, not the emotion, not the hype, you are about to absolutely change your lives. And this is what we're seeing. And if you zoom down a little bit more, you can see this from Zach Rhines. Make sure you're following him. If you're not, Chainlink God is his name. We're seeing this. This is what it will look like because we have institutional investors, the transaction initiation in through ONDO, Chainlink helping process the Oracle data and verifying things, and also the CCIP that they utilize and how that ties in with what's everything happening here on Connexus on JP Morgan. Guys, the bullishness that we're seeing right now is nothing short of extraordinary. So coming back over to the charts, ONDO, let's go to the 3-day chart, double click on this. Okay, we had the two sort of mini cycles, the two mini alt cycles we saw last year. The run up into March, the March high right here, felt like it was about to go to $42 straight from here. Up here at $1.55, crashed, pretty large crash. ONDO, boom, look at this, 68%, 66, 68% crash. Full bear market in terms of how far this dropped. But then look at this, it broke out, found support, double bottom, launch. Okay, we did it again. Now we made another move. This is a pretty large move. Look at that. It's 273% move up to the upside. Oh, again, look at this. This is December, just only a few months ago. And then the market crashed. Look at that. Another 68, 69% move to the downside. With all of these major institutions getting involved or participating, money backers, integrations with ONDO, and you get this opportunity, if you didn't take this opportunity, remember, you haven't missed it because the conservative players, maybe you saw this. Okay, we're getting the proof in the pudding. The data is here now. Now we also see the rounding nature, the inverse head and shoulders, the breakout, all of these integrations that are coming to the forefront now with the players that matter that also help shape policy because of their inroads into what's happening with the U.S. government and regulation and the tokenization of everything. This arguably is a better time to buy. Why? Because we've seen some price movement. We've seen the buying pressure that's come in to, one, we have a higher low here, but then also this rounding nature that's about to go into this next phase of the parabolic run of this market. Right now you're getting a more conservative entry that's still hyper aggressive for where this is going. It's at $1. I mean, I could see this going much higher. If this went to $9, I would be thrilled. If this went, and I'm not saying that has to be the absolute top. I think ONDO can do extraordinary things, especially with the massive amount of volume that will come in as more and more assets get tokenized. In fact, we could talk about Injective in that right as well, because Injective, I'm actually going to do a video on Injective because me and Drew were arguing this morning about how or how much AI is actually integrated in Injective. Is it just, oh, they're using that? No, they're doing all kinds of different integrations with they have an AI index functionality within their dexes. They actually have also have AI tools and functionality that helps liquidity and function sort within their protocol. There's so many different things that they're doing in there. They have something that's called iAgent that is in there. I think it's called iAgent that's in there that utilized as well. But look at this, also falling trend. Okay, we got the rounding bottom, inverse head and shoulders. The breakout is here. It's right into this previous low. If this bull flag's great, then we're looking at the next target up here into the $19, $20 region, which is more than double from where we're at right now. If we do get a sell-off here, what does the structure tell us? If we get the sell-off here, boom, we're looking at this level right here, an opportunity at $10. $10. That's not terrible. That's also the previous neckline. So when you understand the roadmap of what levels to pay attention to, and price comes into a level you know is going to be a hiccup because it's previous range low. If it rejects here, it's not the end of the world. Where do you look? Okay, the previous range high, boom, right here. That's what we're looking at, 1070. I'd be scooping up like a mofo there. In fact, I would scoop up before that for me because I still haven't been able to get in because I'm waiting on some money from a darn invoice. But what do we see here? Golden pocket is right here at the level sitting just above where this neckline is. This is where I think would be an insanely good buy for Injective if we get it. But I would break up my entries, one at the 382 right here. This is basically the move. This move right here. The 382 would be the bullish pullback narrative, which would be 1236, 1240, this zone right here. And then you do your other half of your buy right here. That way you can split your average entries between these two because this may not come all the way down to here. And if this only comes down here and then it launches, then you can use that other half of the capital for something else you want to stack into. Then we see things like Avalanche, which also had pretty major news. Was it this one right here? Vanek, Sol, ETH, BNB, Avalanche, tokenized U.S. Treasury Fund. All of these tokens. You're getting the playbook of where big money is looking at now. Okay? You're getting the playbook of where big money is looking at now. BlackRock, MasterCard, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, looking at Chainlink and ONDO and Ethereum. For everything they're doing with the BitL fund, with what they're doing with tokenized treasuries. Now we see Vanek, major player as well. Securitize, looking at Solana, ETH, BNB, Avalanche for U.S. tokenized treasury fund. Then we see this right here from Gilmore Estates. Make sure you follow them as well. Gilmore underscore Estates. Getting a great breakdown of different tokens with different things within the U.S. government and U.S. major asset manager institution. What's happening of where these things break out in the different parts of the crypto ecosystem. The ones I'm seeing the most of are XRP, XLM, and HBAR. XRP, XDC, Link, and HBAR. XRP, XDC, XDC, and XRP. Algo, HBAR, Matic, still not out of the game. ETH, Arbitrum. But we're seeing great sort of playlists, especially with the made in the USA narrative of where to really focus, where you want your money involved. And then you have other things like Morpho, which I think is going to be a major player this cycle because it's that sort of lending protocol that's baked in and sort of tied in with the Coinbase family and what they're doing on Base Network and everything there. And the fact that Coinbase has so much awareness around it, especially only growing now that it's included in the S&P 500. Then you got things like Aerodrome, which is the DEX for Coinbase. And Coinbase, remember, is a custodian for a lot of the U.S. ETFs for their Bitcoin strategic reserves. And then you have things like wrapped Bitcoin on Base, which is all going to be managed and handled through Aerodrome. There's speculation, potential rumor that there's a good portion of FX, foreign exchange, that might be tokenized and be using the Base network and utilizing Aerodrome. We need to verify that a bit more, but I'm seeing this kind of bubbling up around. But there is so much bullishness coming to this market. So everybody, make sure you strapped in. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. That's all we got for today's show. I really hope you all don't end up being one of these players. Do not mess this up. As Mark Moss pointed out here, I hate to see it, despite decade of educational content, books, videos, and conferences, the retail weak hands continue selling their pristine, scarce assets. So warning, this market is going to crush you if you're selling at lows and buying at highs. And unfortunately, we're seeing this. Look at this change in Bitcoin ownership in 2025. Individuals, don't be dumb money. Individuals are selling while governments, other funds and ETFs and businesses look at this massive bull flare signal to what's coming. The biggest players on planet Earth are stacking into Bitcoin right now, and individuals are going, I don't know. Stop being a dummy. I'm a dummy sometimes. All of us are dummies sometimes. The data's here. Stack like your future depends on it because it does. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. We're going to head over to Blockchain Basement now. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Put your hand on your heart. Find some gratitude. You are here before 7 billion people. Don't mess this up. I love having all of you here in the BitLab Academy on the daily streams here on YouTube, on Rumble, on X. Big love to the Discover Crypto family, Blockchain Basement, Hit Network, and every single one of you that's tuned in. Make sure you drop a comment after this video wraps. Drop a comment down below this video, wherever you're watching it. Let me know, where do you think Bitcoin's price and Ethereum's price is going to be on the last day of the Bitcoin conference? So on the 30th of May, so basically, let's just say the end of May, where do you think Bitcoin's price is going to be and ETH price is going to be? Let me know. Maybe, let's see, get active. Maybe we'll do a giveaway. Last thing I'll say is, well, we don't have to do the retweet today because the video didn't work on X, but I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you join the Discover Investment Group. The link is in the description down below. It's also pinned in the live chat right now on both Rumble and on YouTube. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. That's all I got. Adios. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always tuning in. Bullmarket.com. Let's go.